fear and love, passion and anxiety. These are things I've come to know well. Like ghosts floating over us, I am rendered motionless during these emotional waves of unknown. For all the devils in my head, I must turn them into love and passion. I found this road out of anger and frustration, to share a legacy of candid honesty captured in fragile glimpses of sincerity. I will be hated. I will be loved. But you and I are catapulted closer to death each and every day of our lives. I will continue down this road, through wild country. For love, passion, fear, and anxiety I embrace. Separated from the shade. Do not look behind. They will not follow.
I was never anything special growing up on 50s and 65s, and then when I got on 85s, you know, it kind of changed a little bit, you know, bigger and stronger, I guess you could say, and so I'd race big six and works, and it's funny because that's a series I do now as a professional, and I'd say that's when things started getting serious, but it's funny because it was never like a timed thing, you know. I mean, we would ride whenever we could, and then we'd go race, and it's funny, you know, we never practiced that much. It was never like the typical like racer family, you know. It was just kind of like, okay, well, dad's got to work, mom's busy, you know, guess we're not riding today. It's funny, I remember when I was like freshman and sophomore in high school, all my buddies, you know, would be sending me pictures of them at the track in the mornings and stuff, you know. I'd send them pictures in my English class, you know. so it was cool, but it kind of gave me a different sense of appreciation in life, and you know, I have friends outside of racing dirt bikes, you know. I enjoy getting away from the sport, you know. I enjoy hanging out with friends that don't even know the first thing about a dirt bike. it was more about just people skills, going to school, you know, yes ma'am, no ma'am, you know, just, you know, learn how to respect your elders and teachers. And most of the stuff I learned in school was people skills, you know, and nowadays in our sport, half of racing dirt bikes is being able to talk to people, you know, being able to walk up to that person that matters and shake their hand. And so they have this, you know, they're like, wow, you know, he's a good kid, you know, he's you know, he's making the effort. I don't think I'd be where I'm at and on the team that I am today without, you know, making that first interaction, making that first step, you know, and kind of stepping out of your comfort zone. But in the end, I mean, the worst somebody's gonna tell you something is no, you know, so I mean, why not make that effort and see where you can go with it. Ended up showing up to Loretta's and I mean, did terrible, you know, and what I figured, I think my best finish was like a second in the C class. Woohoo. You know, I mean, nothing special, and I mean, got great starts, but I mean, guys, it got work, you know, and I think I kind of learned a different respect for motocross racers, you know, and that's where I grew from there, you know. You gotta you gotta take, you know, one step at a time, and I went there thinking I was gonna do great right off an injury, you know, and I got worked and I ended up like, you know, typical C class, like I think 10th overall, you know. I think I went like 10 to 15th or something like that, you know, for 10th overall. And so it's just funny how it works, you know. Not to mention, you know, for California and for people, just average people, you know, like myself and my family, just the money it takes to get there, just unbelievable, you know. It's funny, I've got the single dollar bill that we came home with, and I wrote Loretta Lynn's on it, and it's hanging up in my room. Yeah, so I mean, that tells you where we were at. I don't remember one moto I did there. I just remember what it took to get there and what it took to come home. Like, my dad got food poisoning the night before we were supposed to leave. I was 14 years old and I drove from Tennessee to New Mexico and Nevada in one day because I had school. I had, you know, I'm public school, you know, I got I think it was like my sophomore year. I'm like, no, I can't miss the first day of school. So dude, I'm booking it across what, the 40 or whatever, you know. I'm just hauling it home, you know, just to try and make it. And you know, my dad we're pulling over every 30 minutes so he could throw up, and oh dude, it was something else. But now that we look back on it, it's so rad that I got to do that with my dad, you know.
Use those legs. Your getting on was perfect. You got on a lot earlier that time, but you went back.
When I sat down?
Yeah, and that's why you jumped almost out of it at the end. If you would have been up forward in that tack position, you would hit that perfect.
Okay.
So same thing with the gas, you hit it perfect going in, but just trying to, it's hard, I know, dude. The bike wants to pull you out and it's tiring to go forward, but you want to be up here, almost like this, trying to kiss this.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah. My arms are getting pumped up.
All right, we'll do a couple more and then we'll go take some water.
Sounds good.
do it this one time and then another standing up lap and we'll go take a little break.
Okay.
And don't push yourself.
Right.
You don't need to, it's Thursday, shit's horrible.
Right.
No need to try to do cool stuff for the cameras. Don't worry about them. I know it's in your, don't worry about that. Remember, leaning. I went into a room full of 10 people at Vance Hines, and I was a 17-year-old kid. Didn't know much, thought I was the shit, just thought I knew everything and this and that. And it kind of hit me right there, like I'm gonna sign the contract and like, hey, you represent a company now and we're giving you a ton of stuff and a ton of money, so you need to act a certain way. And I didn't know how to handle it at first. It was just like completely different from me and my dad doing everything to having every bike paid for. I just got gears, anything, any parts, and a mechanic, and just everything paid for. I didn't know how to like deal with it and the pressure. They didn't hire me to go out and get 5th place or anything. So that's the first real race where I got 3rd or something, I believe. And I came back and I was somewhat happy. Like I felt like I rode well. And it was just like, no, that's not, you need to win. And I never dealt with that growing up because my dad was such a laid back and just go have fun. So it was definitely a different mental game because I never had that you need to win pushed into me. And I was like, I need to go out and win. And I put that pressure on myself so much that it started affecting me. And all I thought about was winning, and I never really enjoyed hanging out with my friends or doing anything normal. I was just like, hey, I got this team that's paying for everything and doing everything for me. I need to work and work and work and win and win and win. But then I started to win, so it was like, all right, I'm doing okay. But it was definitely a crazy feeling, going from no pressure at all to, hey, you got a lot of money behind you and a lot of people supporting you and you need to go win. Vance, who owns part of Vance Hines, who wanted to start this team and was so passionate about racing, he was stepping down and kind of moving on to not really working for it. And they brought a guy in who was all about numbers. And so that was the whole team, was to get more sales for their off-road exhaust, and they weren't selling much at all. So the guy came in and said, dude, we're selling 50,000 in parts and spending $500,000 like this, so we're done. And so it kind of just closed right there. Dislocated my hip, blowing out my hip socket, and had to go into traction where they drill through your leg and have weights hanging off your knee and stuff for 2.5 days in the hospital, and on morphine every 2 hours, and it was brutal. So I went from the few months before that, everyone was coming up to me because they knew that they thought Vance Hines was going to have a new rider for next year. And everyone was just, oh yeah, they all wanted to be my friend. I was doing well, and it's crazy how when you're winning and you're on top and everything and killing all local stuff, everyone wants to be your friend, everyone wants to talk to you and stuff. And then I got hurt, and just, it's funny how no one called, nothing. Just it was a weird awakening for me, from going from having all this help and all these people to just sitting in my room laid up to not having anyone even call you or anything. So.
After I won a championship, I'm all stoked, and I couldn't even get a gear sponsor. I was working for Cycle News back then, or just helping them out doing testing and stuff, and I was wearing Adam Booth. I was wearing his old gear with a chest protector on, so nobody could see my name, I mean, I'm wearing a whole bunch of Roach gear. My boots got holes in them. I'm doing good, and I just see other people around me, and it's like, why can't I get that kind of help, But at the same time, the industry in off-road racing, it's not that big, it's, so where do you go, I mean, people know who you are, yeah, it's awesome, but sorry, we can't give you a ride, that's it. I didn't want to watch dirt bike races, I was so over it, I didn't want anything to do with it, and I was just so upset at mostly myself, because it was pretty stupid injuries on my part, and they could have been avoided, and they weren't, and I was lost, I didn't know if I'd be able to race like I was, and where do I get a job, I can swing hammers with Pops and make some decent money, and that's kind of where I was at, I didn't really tell him much that I didn't want to do this anymore, but it was on my mind constantly, and I know he was thinking it, but he doesn't say much, and he just kind of keeps to himself about it, so I was over it at that point, and especially with my dad being my mechanic, not only my mechanic, but guy that drives the motorhome to all the races, the guy that's out, working on my bike at midnight, so I can go race REM the next day, stuff that doesn't really matter, but he wants to make sure it's good, and I kind of realized, what have I given them in return in racing dirt bikes, nothing special, and so, and then I'm hurt, and they're looking at me like I'm a joke, and now obviously they don't think that, but that's the way I feel, and I look back on on the big picture of everything as a little kid and growing up, all these thousands and thousands of dollars put into the sport, and I couldn't in my mind, I couldn't, like, you know, provide success for them, you know, and this is obviously all when I was hurt, and, you know, it just sucks, and it's all, you know, just, it tears you apart, and so it was, yeah, it was tough, and it still is tough, you know, just to look back and on like bad races and stuff, you know, and you always want to do good, and when you don't, you know, you're just bummed, and it sucks, you know, but all right.
Lean it in.
I'm looking down too much. I'm not looking up.
And you're getting frustrated before you even finish the turn. I see you shaking your head even out of it. Mental is 90% of this, dude. If you get in your head, it screws you up. Just try to get out there and ride. I know it's hard because you're thinking of a lot, trying to change it up and do that, but if you get down on yourself, it's just gonna make everything worse. So just don't get frustrated. It happens. You mess up sometimes. Everyone messes up, right? You're riding Glen Helen on Thursday afternoon when it's rough and dry and shitty. This is the worst conditions you can have. This is gonna make you better though. So when you do get to a smooth, good like track that has good traction and everything, you're like, dude, what? So like think of it that way. It's gonna make you so much better riding this crap. And I know it sucks right now because it's so frustrating and every bump sucks and it's hard, but it's gonna make everything easier when you get to a better traction, smooth track.
Right. Okay.
And when you get back to this again, you're gonna be like, oh, I know how to do this, I've already done it.
Right.
All right? Keep your head up, don't get down. Worked so hard and so long to get to my dream is, everyone's dream is to race under the lights and race the professionals and be one of those guys. So it was definitely days where I sat there and was just like, dude, this sucks. Like I'm done, and definitely was depressed. And I went out and got myself a little puppy because I was like, dude, I got nothing to do. I got no one to hang out with. So I got a dog that kind of helped me, you know, at least have something to hang out with and do while I was stuck in bed and not walking. It was eating me up every day at work. Like I needed something else besides just a normal job, and I knew that I couldn't go on every day like just being a normal worker. So I'm just sitting there in bed with my girlfriend, and we're just talking about like what to do. And I was like, hey, like, she always knew like my dream is to go do that and be back in racing. And she has Lyme disease, so she used to race UTVs and quads, like rhinos and stuff, and the work series and stuff. So she got that cut off from her because she couldn't do that anymore because she got sick, and just, so she was like, hey, you know, if you're healthy and have the capabilities of going out and at least trying to do it, like you can't sit back and live your whole life thinking that, like, go out and do it. Like, I'll live forever knowing that I at least went out and did that, and I'm happy with it, you know? It was just a crazy ride, and I couldn't be more, I don't know, I just feel like, not accomplished, but just like, all right, I can live with myself now, knowing I at least went out and tried and did it and lived up to a little bit of my potential. So I know I can do a lot better, and I can get up there, and if I was healthy and had the time, I could whole shot and run with those guys. But for the time being and how the situation, it was killer.
I do think a championship would be rad for sure. I know my dad would be stoked, you know. I definitely see some tears rolling off his eyes or off his face, but I know they'd be stoked, and I think I can do it for him, so hopefully I can. I just want to see the look on his face when I do, you know.
Wide shot.